you're gonna look great.
But if you wanna stay in shape, well, you better hit the
Gym Wits.
That's right, man. Hello. Welcome to the Gym Wits podcast. I'm Ryan George.
I'm Justin Guild, aka Chef Sonic.
And we are the Gym Wits.
So, Ryan, what do we have in store for today? I hear that you have a pretty interesting interview.
Yeah, today you have very little to do with the podcast.
Nice, perfect.
We actually have my interview with Jay Scott of Full Disclosure Fitness.
Nice. All right.
It's a really, really interesting interview, actually. It was very kind of wide-ranging. We talked about a lot of different subjects. We talked about entrepreneurship for fitness professionals. We talked about fitness misconceptions, interesting approaches to fitness, online fitness, podcasting. So it was really actually very interesting and wide-ranging chat. So that's what we have for the listeners today.
All right, awesome.
All right, so I'm here with Jay Scott. Jay, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Ryan.
How are you doing today?
Doing great, man.
Well, thanks for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. And, with anybody that I have on that's in fitness, we have such unique backgrounds. So I guess tell me a little bit about your background, like what got you into fitness, and maybe a little bit about your kind of evolution as a trainer.
Okay, yeah, I was a very small. I was always, I think, the third smallest guy in my class.
Okay.
And there was a kid who had asthma really bad, and he had to take prednisone. And he was smaller than me. Mm-hmm. A really sweet kid, though. And then there was one naturally smaller than me kid. And then there was the rest of the guys. So I was always the small kid, and I was a little bit chubby, and I had glasses. And when I was 5, I actually had false teeth for a while because I was anemic when I was little, and I drank this iron drink that basically got rid of my teeth, decomposed my teeth.
Oh, wow.
And dissolved them, so I had to go get some little false teeth. So I had false teeth and glasses at like 5. So I was sort of a traumatized little youth.
Yeah.
But I started to like playing basketball when I was about 13, and I kind of grew just a little bit. I'm 5'6" now. I'm a whopping 5'6", but I hit a little tiny growth spurt and slimmed down. And then I was watching the NBA because I love basketball. I played like 6 or 8 hours a day, no joke, for about 5 years. And so I'd see people like Scottie Pippen, David Robinson, all these guys, and they looked so lean. You could see the muscles in their arms. So my first goal was to see musculature in my arms, just to see arm muscles.
Yeah.
And so I started working out, and I started to see a little bit of arm definition, and I kind of went from there. I kind of got addicted in a good way to it and got lean, started really seriously changing my diet and nutrition and my workout plan when I was about 18. And I decided to be a bodybuilder, even though I'm sort of a small bodybuilder and a healthy, natural bodybuilder. I became that, and then that naturally went into me getting a personal training certificate. Yeah. And we can talk about this later because personal training certificates does not necessarily mean you're making any money.
Yeah. That's actually one of the questions I definitely would like to discuss. Later on is how kind of the misconceptions of new trainers. So yeah, it's definitely something I'd like to talk about. Now, when you played basketball, did you play in high school, or did you just play a lot for yourself?
I learned a lot through basketball because I went to a school, and the honest truth is, I'll tell you the good and the bad. Yeah. The bad was it was a politics type school. I mean, there were all the guys with the last name such and such had the positions on the team. But the caveat to that is I kind of saw this my freshman year, and instead of trying and started pushing through, I quit before they made any cuts. Okay. So I was a quitter, basically.
Oh, God. Okay.
And I played basically playground basketball at a rec center, and I played every single day. I was better. I mean, honestly, I was better than anybody on the team, but nobody knew it. And I kept thinking that people should know. People should come to me. And this ties back into personal training later when we talk about that. I kept thinking because of my knowledge, people should come to me and ask me to play on the team.
Yeah.
And the world doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So I learned a very valuable lesson through basketball, and it was able to change my personal training and marketing approach based on that lesson that I learned.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, when you got into personal training, how old were you? Was it right after you kind of got into bodybuilding, or did that take you a while?
I was 19 years old when I got certified.
Okay.
I started helping out some friends, and that's kind of a natural way to get into it. But then again, I was stuck in a rut, and instead of studying marketing, I was actually thinking, I know all this stuff. I've gotten lean. I've helped these people get lean, and yet nobody wants me to train them. I don't understand. You know, I was
Yeah.
like I thought they would come and knock on the door. So I did get certified when I was 19, but it was another 10 years before I started making a living.
Oh, wow.
You tell them from Kentucky, a living,
Yeah.
a living, a living from personal training. So it was another 10 years after that.
Wow. Okay. And so how did you just train like the 10 years that you were a trainer, or did you have other jobs? Were you doing other odd jobs to make ends meet? Because it can be a struggle, especially if it takes that long to make a living. So what did you do in order to kind of get by while you were developing as a trainer?
Well, I worked at YMCA's. I worked at about 5 YMCA's.
I work at YMCA right now, actually.
It's a good stepping stone.
Yep.
You know, I don't really have anything bad to say. I had some bad experiences, you know, like with certain bosses or whatever over the years. But I really learned a lot at the YMCA. I worked the front desk for a little while. I was a trainer there and got to learn on somebody else's dime, so to speak, how to train people and interact with people. And I also lifeguarded in the summer, and I also lifeguarded at a YMCA.
Okay. Oh, cool.
So, yeah, I had odd jobs. In other words, I would do anything to get by, and I always had about 1 to 3 clients, especially in the later of those 10 years.
Yeah.
So I was making a little money from that, too.
Okay. And now what was the change? Like, was it a slow progression over the 10 years that you developed, or was there like a eureka moment where you realized, okay, this is what I need to change, and that kind of was the springboard to your being successful as a trainer?
You know, this is pretty interesting. I was sitting in my basement, and I had a website built because I was always toying around with the idea. I thought maybe I was wrong because I had it in my mind that you had to have connections, that the world was rigged against me always during that 10 years, and that's terrible. It's a terrible mindset, but I know a lot of people listening right now may have that same mindset. And I was in the basement, and I had just had a website built, I think, for $500. It was actually a pretty good WordPress site, though. Okay. And I still use that site as my local personal training business to this day. Yeah. And I thought, okay, this sucks. I was in my parents' basement, and I thought, I'm 30 years old. I'm in my parents' basement. Something has to change. And I remember looking at a particular concrete block on the wall, and for some reason, it's tied in with that memory. And I thought, something's got to change. I cannot live like this. And I wasn't suicidal, but I was very depressed. Yeah. And I thought, okay, I'm going to start blogging. I had read somewhere that if you blog regularly, that may be a key, right? Yeah. So I wrote an article, and then every week I would write an article. I wrote it on a mirror. Matter of fact, I seen that little note that I had on a mirror in my parents' basement the other day. Mm-hmm. And it says, every week, write a blog, no matter what. So I did that for about 4 or 5 weeks, and all of a sudden somebody called me, and it was because Google's algorithms had picked up through SEO content for my local city, and somebody called me. So I somehow made the sale because I didn't know how to basically go through a sales process then. I didn't have a script or anything like I have now, and I hadn't worked out all the details. But I made a sale, and from there I wanted to learn how to go through the sales process. So that spurred me to study sales. And then I got another phone call of a couple, which is actually a lot higher priced because it's a couple. The second person is about 50% off, but it's like 1.5 clients. Yeah. So from there, I got interested in marketing, and I started studying marketing. So it snowballed after that one thing. And I think if somebody's sitting at home right now and they're thinking, this wouldn't work, even if I tried it, try it. Yeah. Do something like write a blog every week. Give yourself a chance to get picked up by Google and SEO. Give yourself a chance to be seen by somebody that may give you a shot at something. Just take action.
So actually, I have a question for you on the blogging. Do you still update your blog regularly, or has like the kind of podcasting and YouTube, has that kind of taken away from the blogging every week or consistently?
Well, I've got 3 websites now.
Okay.
So with my CE Fitness website, which is my local Lexington, I've let that fade into the background because I have 2 new things. I have my podcast, and I have iScienceFit.com, which is my new online personal training business. So I put more focus on that. And I have blogged fairly regularly, but the last month I had skipped about a month to 6 weeks on the blog. Yeah. But every week I put up a podcast as a blog on FullDisclosureFitness.com. But iScienceFit.com, I'm just now getting back into it, and I'm going to do the same thing again weekly there is going to be an article put up there, and I'm going to hold myself to that because I'm almost recreating what I did in the first place 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I had a similar experience with blogging, where same thing. I started a WordPress blog, and I was really consistent for almost a year. I think there was one point where I was doing daily blogs, and then I shifted back to to weekly, and it was great. Like, the results are awesome when you're consistent, but then I got too busy and I wasn't able to do the blog, and you definitely notice how important putting out regular consistent content can be, and then you see the change when you stop putting that content out.
it is, and it's according to your market too,
Yeah.
because if I'm putting out keywords for online personal training, it's going to be much more difficult than Lexington, Kentucky personal training, because the market is much smaller. So, but I'm just saying, if you don't take action, nothing is going to happen, and that's for sure.
Yeah,
If you
absolutely.
do take action, you're giving yourself a chance to learn, to grow, and to progress.
Yeah, and especially I think, and as we'll talk about a little bit later, is especially as personal trainers, you have to be proactive. You can't, like you're saying, you can't sit back and wait for somebody to find you or discover you, or if you want to make it, you really have to push. So now tell me a little bit about iScience Fit. Like, how does it work? What do you do maybe that's different from other online training programs? I guess tell me a little bit about the business, and yeah.
Yeah, iScience Fit was an idea I had a few years ago, and it came from the fact that my clients would go on vacation, and we were still able to get good workouts because we'd work out via webcam. So what I decided to do was make that an actual business, and what iScience Fit is it brings expert personal training into your own home. It's the ultimate in convenience, yet you still have that accountability to get to that session. You've invested in that session, so you want to get there at, say, 5 p.m., and that keeps you from skipping your workout. Plus, you're getting expert-level coaching that kind of it shifts and bounces off of my podcast, which is all about eliminating fitness propaganda, getting rid of all the little grains of sand that contaminate, like high fructose corn syrup, trans fats. And we worry about the boulders like calories and are you working out consistently. And what that does is it allows you to make big progress because those small grains of sand are zapping your energy and taking away from the important things. So we keep you on track, give you expert advice that's customized for your specific body, and we're there for you via webcam to take you through the workout. I mean, all the way through the workout. So show you the exercises, the form, check your form, talk to you, ask you how your day's been, everything.
So do you have trainers that work for you as in addition? Or like, I'm assuming you participate in it as well, but do you have trainers that also work for you, or is it just you?
It's just me because this just started in January.
Okay, got it.
And so I'm filling out my personal clientele. And when that gets full, then I'm going to hire trainers. But when you hire trainers, this is an issue that a lot of businesses have. They don't take their trainers through a rigorous testing procedure to make sure that they are promoting the same lifestyle choices, the same basic knowledge that the business should stand for. So I'm going to be very careful with that, and they're going to have to go through a J. Scott certification program in order to work for me.
That works, and it absolutely makes sense because you do want them to be some kind a representation of yourself, and even though everyone has their own style, it's your business, and at the end of the day, it all falls back on you. So yeah, that absolutely makes sense. Now, what's the split right now between your virtual training and in-person training?
It is now taken over about 70% of my business because we went through a beta phase, right? I went through a beta phase where the pricing structure was very low to get everything worked out, all the kinks worked out. But everything is up and running now, and I only have a few in-person personal training clients, and the rest are online, and everything's going great. So right now is a great time to get in. You're going to be in on the ground level for people listening, and it's at isciencefit.com. You just fill out a free consultation form, and I'll get in contact with you.
What's the weirdest location that you have, or the maybe the furthest, or a location that's just you wouldn't expect, I guess, of your clients?
Well, I had a client in the UK, which was interesting. But in the United States, I have clients in California, Seattle. I have clients in New York. So it's just all over. But most of them are in the United States so far. But we're going to make sure that the world gets access to this as well.
Yeah. And so now, when it comes to online training, what have you found there to be any problems? Like, what issues have you found or that you've had to deal with the online training?
Well, with online training, you got to make sure that the camera angles are good. You got to make sure that you can see the client's knees, for example, when they're squatting. You got to make sure that you get those angles set up properly. And that took a while to work out because you've got to be able to see the major joints and make sure that they're not in danger. Also, the internet connection. The client has to have a good internet connection because if one of you doesn't, then things get behind.
Yeah.
So there can be a little bit of lag. But you'd be surprised how little problems there actually are. And it truly is a great way to make sure you're getting an expert personal trainer, somebody that knows what they're doing, because you can look at the testimonials, you can see everything. Whereas if you type in personal trainer, your city, it is a real crapshoot what you're going to get. Let me tell you.
Yes, absolutely. And especially, I guess, I think somewhere like, well, I guess it works both ways because like a place like New York, there are so many trainers that you're going to find a lot of good ones, but there are so many trainers that you're going to find a lot of bad ones as well.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, there are good ones, there are bad ones. There's no real accrediting agency. What I recommend people look for, testimonials. Do they have testimonials? And I mean good testimonials, like a video of somebody talking about them, before and after pictures. Do they blog regularly? Because if they do, that means that they're interested in the subject matter and they're trying to grow and learn and teach others. And you want to look for that. You also want to look for media. See if they've been on the news, see if they've had TV appearances, see if they've been on other podcasts. Listen to them if at all possible. Do they have a YouTube channel where you could watch 5 videos before you make a commitment? So all of these things play into whether you're going to get a good trainer or not, and if you can identify that good trainer. You really have to do a little work to find a good trainer.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, how do you, so let's say, there are definitely situations I have with clients, and I'm sure you've had, where their body awareness is really not good. And sometimes for those particular clients, it requires some bit of kind of physical manipulation. How do you manage that, or have you had situations where you have somebody who really has poor body awareness, and how do you manage that in an online setting where you can't kind of physically be there to manipulate them or correct movements?
Well, correcting movements, I'm a very minimalist guy when it comes to that stuff. And doing squats is real straightforward, you can tell. Doing push-ups, really straightforward. And we get into a lot more in-depth exercises too. But there's a lot of useless exercises, like if you're doing some kind of weird curl that's not even needed, So body awareness, as far as that goes, we do measurements. We keep track of everything, the weight, and we talk weekly. And that's a big part of it. Now, regular fitness coaching does that as well. I also have that option, and lots of people are doing that, of course. And you keep track of their measurements. You want to make sure that their measurements are going down, or their body weight is going down about 1 pound or 2 a week. And then also the mirror. You want to ask them, can you tell you're getting leaner? It's basically the same stuff. Also, you can have them send you pictures, which is pretty much invaluable when it comes to seeing the change in your body, because it doesn't always show up on the scale or the tape measure immediately.
Yeah. And what have the results been like? So have the results been comparable or equal to that of in-person clients?
Yes, they've been very comparable. There's always going to be a place for in-person personal training.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is that's a real job. It's been around for decades, and it's going to be around for decades. And I think that you can get 80% there right now with webcam. I really do. And it's a cheaper alternative as well, because you don't have the, I did in-home personal training for years. You got to account for gas. You got to account for the wear and tear on your car. You got to account for a lot of things. So when you do that, you have to obviously charge a little more. But when you're taking out that extra cost, then you can bring that to the consumer.
So anything else you want to talk about with the online fitness?
Just that it's a great alternative if you can't find a good trainer in your area, if you don't want to leave the house, if you want that convenience and accountability without going and revealing yourself in the gym, then please get out there, go to isciencefit.com, fill out that consultation form, and we'll get you started on a program that's a lot more private.
Awesome. So now, when it comes to personal trainers, I think it's one of the it's an interesting business. I love it, but nobody told me what to expect. And as we talked about, it took you 10 years to figure it out. It took me a very long time to kind of find myself and figure out what I wanted and what worked for me. What advice do you have for trainers, like somebody who's just looking to get certified? What advice do you have for them starting out, like what to expect for their first year? What can they do to make that first year more successful? What advice would you give to a new trainer?
go to the YMCA.
Yeah.
I'm serious though, in a
Yeah.
way. I think you need to get into a gym environment.
Yeah.
And even with that drastic pay cut, and they're taking almost all of your money, the YMCA was the best. I mean, I checked in with Gold's Gym at one point, and I think it was, well, they giving you like $8 and taking 52 or something like that. It
Wow.
was,
Oh, that's crazy. Okay. Yeah.
So, but even if you had to do that, if you're young and you can get away with it, you got to get in a gym
Yeah.
and get some experience dealing with people. And I think that's the most important thing. You're really dealing with people psychologically and physically and emotionally.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you've got to learn to do that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's one of a big mistake a lot of people make is they'll see a trainer who has become successful, and usually when you're successful as a trainer, you're doing in-home training or you're running your own business, and people will try to bypass that initial step of work at a gym. And that's like almost career suicide right off the bat. And I definitely agree. Like, you need to be in a gym setting. You need to learn from other trainers, watch other people, get the volume of clients that you can get. You can't really get that volume, especially at least initially, running your own business. So yeah, I definitely would agree. Working at a gym is one of the first things. Any new trainer should do.
And you start to find out that people they fall into these categories, and you'll start to see the same thing repeat, and you'll know not to take offense at it, to let it go. And you start to see when somebody does this certain thing, like they'll say, I can't feel this exercise, or they'll say, I feel this exercise in a completely different muscle. And you start to realize when people throw these things out that maybe they're taking a little jab at you, but maybe you should just keep your mouth shut and just keep doing your job, and that they're paying you, and that they may be having a bad day elsewhere. And all these things tie together. You got to know how to treat people, and you got to understand that you've had bad days, they have bad days, everybody's happy together, and that you can overcome and not be emotionally involved and let your ego get in the way.
Yeah. And then what's your advice on branching out and becoming an entrepreneur within fitness? Like, what are the steps again? Is it just start your own business, or, like you mentioned that you learned sales, you learned marketing. Like, what steps should somebody take once they do decide, I want to run my own business. I don't want to be held down by a gym that is going to take, 50 to 60 to 70% of what the client's paying.
I would immediately start studying marketing.
Yeah.
And I would study networking, because I would also try to start creating content. And if you do those three things, I think that's a huge, huge step in the right direction, because if you can't market, nobody will know that you're good at what you do. So instead of going and taking more certification courses, and instead of studying all day, I know you love fitness, so I don't think, honestly, you're probably not going to have a problem learning fitness. Yeah. You're probably going to be hungry for that. But some of the things you're not hungry for, put those in there. Like marketing, start developing a taste for that. Start developing a taste for learning networking. And that's one of my biggest weaknesses. It really is. Yeah. Because I don't want to bother people.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I think, I would email him and tell him I mentioned him in this, but I would just be bothering him. Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm battling that one today, because there's some people that I could email and say, I mentioned you in this podcast, just thought I'd let you know, you've really inspired me and all this stuff. And I think, nah, they would just bother them. They get so much email. Yeah. You can't do that. You don't want to bother them. You don't want to email them every week or every day. But it does not hurt to stay in touch with people and to network with people. And that's probably the biggest thing that I'm working on currently. So, yeah.
And then you've got the content down. So how long have you been podcasting?
2 years.
Okay. And how do you like it? What's your experience? Like, anything that was unexpected once you started? What do you think of it so far?
I think that podcasting, you'll hear, it's the great thing. There's not that much competition. I think there's only 250,000 podcasts, all this stuff. There's a lot of competition.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of noise out there. So it's slower than I predicted as far as the traction that I'm getting. Mm-hmm. But I've got really strong people. Yeah. I've got really strong people that are really interactive with me. And I've got the listeners that I have are really great. And it has grown considerably, let me let you know. But it just takes a while.
Yeah.
And that's with everything. So the people listening realize you got to be patient. It's going to take a while to build up a following, to build up a network. It's just going to take a while.
Yeah, and I think it's a community. Like the whole, I'm learning this now, having started at this a few months now, and it's like there's a whole kind of podcasting community that it's important you become a part of. Kind of getting back to the networking thing, that's also an issue of mine. Is like really being able to network and branch out and really get into this community where people seem to be very open. Anyone who's a podcaster, it's kind of like I liken it to being at the dog. I have a couple of dogs, and when you go to when you get a dog, you open yourself up to this whole world of people that you just never knew existed, and it's a very similar thing with podcasting.
And you got to ask, and you got to realize that not everybody will be down with it. Like you said, most people are, and it's a very good community. But there's some people that they just are going to be like, nah, people will start listening to your podcast. No, you're not going to be on.
Yeah.
You know, and there are some of those, but you can't let that get in your mind because that's just the natural way of the world. There are going to be some no's. You know, if you want to get a date, you're going to have to go out and ask some people, and some of them are going to say no.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? But that doesn't mean you're worthless. It just means you just keep going, and somebody's going to say yes.
Yeah.
And so you got to be willing to get out there and take that and not let it affect, again, your ego. That's what that really comes back to. And it was one of my biggest problems. That's why I know about it. I'm not, preaching to you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's one of my issues. So when you get over that, then you're going to be taking it to the next level.
Yeah. Now, how did you? What got you started? Like, what about? Were you kind of an avid podcast listener, or were you looking for a new avenue to distribute information? Like, what got you into podcasting?
That's a good question. What actually happened is there's a fitness convention called the Fitness Summit that is in Kansas City, and I remember I was driving out there and I was listening to podcasts. Didn't have a clue that I was going to do anything with a podcast. And I went out there, and when I got there, these were people that I had read all their articles, and I wasn't good at networking. I said hi to a few people, but I mostly hung out with like two guys that kind of clicked with, and I didn't meet everybody else. And I remember leaving, and I was like, crap. I really did not do very good at that. I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to get over there and say hi, but I thought, well, I'm going to be bothering the people that are talking, So this is an issue with me. And on the way home, I thought, wait a second. What if I started a podcast and I interviewed all these people? Then the next time I go, they're going to know who I am. Now, they may not know me deeply, but they're going to have talked to me for an hour. And so on Amazon, I got on my phone and ordered a microphone.
Okay.
And that was the start of my podcast. I contacted some of the people from the Fitness Summit, which are highly respected people. I respect them highly. And was able to get people like Brad Schoenfeld and Saul Orwell and a lot of people on my show. And from there, it became sort of a tool for networking and a tool to make some friends or at least acquaintances in the fitness industry.
Yeah, that's great. And what do you? So I like that your podcast. I like the kind of approach that you take, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier about kind of getting past a lot of the misconceptions and misinformation. So maybe talk a little bit about the theme of your podcast and what you're trying to, give to your listeners.
Yeah, the theme of my podcast is basically to help people get results and to unclutter their minds from all of this stuff that is just floating around out there. We talked a little about it, but the truth of the matter is that there are a couple of things that are going to give you maximum results. And those things are caloric intake, whether you do that by going paleo and dropping out a lot of bread that has a lot of calories out of your diet and following that template, which does indeed work, or whether you're counting your calories and going out to McDonald's and just counting those calories like the Hodge twins. There's a lot of people, those people, they don't understand what the biggest issues are. So they're counting their sodium, and, that's great. That's good. It's healthy, but it's not going to make you lose your fat. And getting to a healthy weight, I think, is square one. Yeah. Get to a healthy body fat percentage and a healthy weight, then we'll worry about your high fructose corn syrup. We'll worry about your trans fats and your sodium. But if you can just get to a healthy weight, haven't we accomplished something massive? If you can just get where you're twice as strong, where your heart rate drops, and you're in better shape cardiovascularly, haven't we accomplished something spectacular? I say yes. So let's get those huge things out of the way, and then we'll worry about these smaller things. So there's always that saying, pull the mote, which is like a huge thing. This is in the Bible. Pull the mote out of your own eye before you try to get a splinter out of your friend's eye, right? Yeah. And that kind of applies in a way to this. You want to take care of the big problems, and then you can go to the smaller ones.
Yeah. And how do you deal with all of the, like, when you're dealing with clients or listeners, how do you get them past all of the misinformation that is out there? Because there is so, every week there's a new thing. I was reading today, one of my clients, I teach at work at the Y, I teach a bunch of group exercise classes. And one of the members, she always comes in with new articles, and she had one. It was like, I didn't read it yet, but it was like the 20-minute workout that you do twice a week. And I don't know what it is, but I can't imagine that a 20-minute workout twice a week is going to to yield the kind of results that this article seemed to say that it did. So how do you get past that when there just is constant flow of misinformation?
Well, you have to tell people the truth, first of all, and you have to say, listen, just try this for a little bit. Just give it a shot. Let's see what happens. Count your calories. Let's see what happens. Start counting them more. First thing I always tell people, there's like a few phases of fat loss. The first one is, do you have any culprits in your diet? And these culprits are things like I drink 7 Mountain Dews a day, right? Because if you take that out, you're going to lose all kinds of fat just from taking that out. So you always start people slowly, let them see some results, and then they're more open and receptive for the next thing.
Yeah.
So let them trust you, little at a time, and give them more and more. Just dropping them in, especially with calorie counting, a lot of times can blow people up. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they deal well with it, but a lot of times they don't, and it's too much, and they'll break down. So you want to just give them little at a time, let them start to make small changes in their life. And as far as workouts, all my testimonials are 30 minutes 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And so you can do a lot, but you better be working out.
Yeah.
And you better be watching that diet that ties into it, because 30 minutes is not going to burn off any fat, very, very little. But what it's going to do is shape your body. It's going to strengthen your musculature. It's going to strengthen your bone structure. It's going to make you stronger and more vital. And it's going to make you more athletic. And then if we adjust your diet at the same time, then you start losing that fat.
No, I'm sorry.
No, that's it. Yeah.
No, is there a particular type of workout? So for a 30-minute workout, because I'm a big fan of like high intensity interval training, and if you're gonna work out in a short period, then the intensity has to be increased. Now, is there any specific kind of protocol that you really? I know every client's different, but any protocol that you particularly really enjoy using or that you find gets the best results?
Yeah, you got to hit the major movers.
Yeah.
So that is, you push something away from you. That would be like a push-up. You pull something towards you. That would be like a row. You crunch. That's going to work your abdominal area. And you squat. Yes. So those are 4 major things. Yeah. I think I said 4 before. Anyway, 4. Those are the 4 things. So just imagine this. Let's say that someone says, I can't get a good workout in 30 minutes. And you say, okay, well, I want you to do push-ups for 30 minutes. What do you think would happen?
Impossible.
Okay, so now if we split that 4 ways, and I say, I want you to do, 15 push-ups, then 15 squats, then 15 crunches, then 15 rows. And then you say, okay, now I want you to do 15 push-ups, then and you just repeat that over and over. Yeah. Of course you're going to get a great workout in 30 minutes. You're going to be dead. You can actually, I always tell people, if somebody brought in Michael Phelps or Lance Armstrong in their prime, I could destroy them in 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. I mean, how long do you think Michael Phelps would do push-ups? Not 30 minutes.
Yeah, no, maybe a
minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Even elite athletes can get a great workout in 30 minutes, but you have to work all the major muscle groups, and that's what a lot of people don't do, or they dilly-dally. You can't talk standing between a couple of exercise machines like a lot of people at the gym leaning on the exercise machine. Yeah. How's Bob doing? How's Bob? Yeah, is he doing good? Yeah. That's not working out. You got to get it. You got to get moving. So it can work, and it does work, but you got to be focused. And, at iScience Fit, that's what we do. That's our goal. We're going to talk about your food while you're resting, how the nutrition's going, how your day's going, but you're going to be moving clip, right on. So there's not going to be any big breaks there.
Yeah. Now, what's your workout like right now?
My workout, I'm a bodybuilder, so the thing about personal training in general, even my business, has always been you're not trying to be a bodybuilder if you're working out with me, because I do in-home training.
Yeah.
And so if your goal is to be a bodybuilder, you need to go get to a gym and find a trainer who specializes in that. I'm more of like a movie star, athletic, celebrity type physique up to that, like Brad Pitt and Fight Club. You want to get like that, we can do it. Yeah. But as far as being Arnold, you better get in the gym and do some heavy bench presses and things like that. So you can do a lot at home. My current workout is I work out 4 times a week, usually 30 to 45 minutes, and that's it. And then I watch my diet. So.
And do you compete?
I did compete. Sorry, I was getting a drink.
Yeah. Oh, no.
I did compete in 2010.
Okay.
And I qualified for nationals in the NPC in bantamweight.
Okay.
So that's under 142 pounds. So I was definitely shredded,
Yeah.
and looked pretty good. I mean, there's pictures on the internet, but the truth of the matter is that going any heavier than that for me to be 160 would have required drugs.
Yeah.
And I for a plastic trophy, it's not happening.
No.
So, that kind of stuff, you got to always draw that line in a safe area and make sure that you're not doing something stupid for a very minimal result.
Yeah. What weight do you walk around at?
I walk around in the 150s.
Okay.
And so I'm fairly large, for my size, I got a very fine bone structure.
Yeah.
And my arms are somewhere around 16 and a half to 17 inches. So
Okay.
I'm a bodybuilder, but you would say that guy is a very, very athletic looking dude.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly walking around with a permanent lat spread.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you still play basketball?
I do.
Okay,
yes.
cool.
I've been playing lately a lot. I've been
Yeah.
actually playing about 2 or 3 hours once or twice a week, and I'm about to be 36. And let me tell you, it's a lot harder on you now than,
Oh, yeah.
than it used to be.
Yeah, I'm 33, and I played lots of sports growing up, but I mostly practice Muay Thai and some boxing, and I definitely found in the last couple of years that like recovery, where 5 years ago I didn't need to do any recovery. Now it's like it's necessary. If I have a really tough workout, if I don't sit and roll and stretch, and a lot of times if I can, I like to sit in the sauna for a little bit. It's like if I don't do that, I feel it the next day, and it's rough. So
For sure. And, it takes me now, I guess it's at least 2 days before I can play with any efficiency again.
Oh, okay,
because
yeah.
My knees are hurting, and they need a couple days. My left arm, for some reason, is sore in the elbow area, and I wouldn't feel safe playing today. I probably need 1 to 2 more days for that to go away. That used to never happen.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess that's the price you pay to stay athletic.
Wear and tear.
Yeah. Well, it was great talking to you. I really enjoyed this chat. Now, if people want to find you, what are the different avenues? Like, you can list them off. Like, how can people find more, hear more about you?
Well, the first thing to do is go to fulldisclosurefitness.com, and there I have a special report that you can get. You put your name and email at the top of the page, and you will get a special report that tells you how to lose fat to calculate your calories for your particular body. And it also tells you about protein, carbs, and fats, the macronutrients. So you can go there, put your name and email in, and get that. And then on iScienceFit.com, it's the webcam personal training business. There's a form at the top of the page. Put your name and email in that, and it'll give you a workout that you can do. It takes about 30 minutes. You can do it 3 times a week, and it's completely free. And so there, you got both avenues covered. And then, of course, if you want personal training, hit the consultation button, and we'll get in touch with you as soon as possible. And then, on Twitter, J Scott Fitness, Instagram, J Scott Fitness, and almost everything. Facebook is J Scott Fitness. So almost all of my social media is J Scott Fitness.
Okay, great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
This has been great, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I had a great time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it was pretty cool. I had no idea what to expect, but definitely learned a lot of nice stuff.
Yeah, it was a really great chat, and we definitely talked about a lot of different things, and hopefully we can have him back on the podcast at some point.
Nice. And we also have a bunch of other cool guests coming up, right?
Yeah, we have a lot going on, a very diverse group from not just fitness. So we definitely have some very interesting guests and podcasts coming up. Yeah.
I know that we have a CEO coming up, a dietitian, and we actually
Pre
have
and
someone.
postnatal.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
3D printing.
Wow.
How will we tie that to fitness?
We'll have to see. And we also have someone who's running a contest about losing weight. So that should be very interesting too.
Yeah, we have a lot. It's going to be a fun couple months coming up. So hopefully you guys stay tuned. And as usual, you can check us out at www.thegymwits.com. All of our information's there. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram. We're really trying
everywhere you can be.
Anywhere you can be.
There.
We have a variety of some really cool things coming up through the pipeline for all the different platforms. So if you're a Facebook user or if you're a Twitter user, whatever it is, you can check us out on any of those.
Write us in, give us ideas. We'd love to hear from you. Some of you guys have written in and given us some ideas for podcasts and answering questions, and we love that stuff. We want to be interactive.
Absolutely. So keep it up. So that's it. I'm Ryan George.
I'm Justin Guild, aka Chef Sonic.
And we are
the
Gymwits.